Let's begin this hour with the criminal hush money trial of Donald Trump. Joining the former president in court this morning, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson. It is another big day. Mr. Trump's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, is expected to face tough questions by the defense when he's cross-examined.
Yeah, Cohen is back on the stand after yesterday's highly anticipated testimony in which he alleged that Mr. Trump urged him to buy the silence of Stormy Daniels and approved a repayment plan. That was all in the run-up to the 2016 election. While Mr. Trump, for his part, denies the allegations, he also denies he had a sexual relationship with the adult film star. NBC News senior legal correspondent Laura Jarrett has the story.
Hey there, Michael Cohen on the witness stand yesterday. Far different than the version we have all seen in the past. He was calm, measured, and damaging to his old boss, directly connecting Donald Trump to an alleged scheme in a way no other witness in this trial has been able to do. The only question now, does the jury believe him?
This morning, Michael Cohen back on the stand. The state's star witness expected to face a grilling by the defense team as soon as today. On Monday, Cohen telling jurors Donald Trump instructed him to pay off a porn star on the eve of the 2016 election and then approved a plan to pay him back. Cohen said Mr. Trump told him, quote, just take care of it, describing a campaign in damage control after the Access Hollywood tape leaked. Mr. Trump's longtime fixer detailing how his former boss was dead set on keeping Stormy Daniels quiet once they got word she planned to go public with a story Mr. Trump has long denied about a one-night stand. Cohen recalling Mr. Trump in despair, saying, this is a disaster, a total disaster. Women are going to hate me. Guys may think it's cool, but this is going to be a disaster for the campaign. Cohen also testifying Mr. Trump wasn't concerned about his wife Melania's reaction, only his election chances, saying Mr. Trump joked about finding another wife. Quote, he goes, how long do you think I will be on the market for? Not long. Mr. Trump, Cohen says, also told him to hold off paying Daniels as long as possible, saying, if I win, it has no relevance. If I lose, I don't even care. And later reassuring him, don't worry about it. You will get the money back. The former president's reimbursement of Cohen for paying Daniels off and how prosecutors allege it was hidden on Mr. Trump's internal books as legal expenses at the heart of the 34 felony counts the former president has pled not guilty to in this trial.
There's no crime here. This is 4 weeks of keeping me from not campaigning.
Cohen walking the jury through a critical meeting he says he had at Trump Tower before the then president-elect left for Washington, where the men hashed out how Cohen would be repaid in monthly installments, the only witness to testify about Mr. Trump's advanced knowledge of the reimbursement plan.
Prosecutors say they still need a bit more time with Michael Cohen today. They left off taking a little bit of time in the middle of some significant testimony on the reimbursement details, and then it will be the defense team's turn at cross-examination. Back to you.
All right, Laura, thank you.
For more, let's bring in NBC News legal analyst Danny Savalos. Good to have you with us. So just overall, what did you make of Cohen's testimony so far? Was it damning at all for Mr. Trump when it comes to what the prosecution needs to actually get a conviction here?
By definition, it was damning, or else the prosecution never would have called Michael Cohen. After all, he's got a lot of liability for the prosecution because he's got so many credibility problems. But what the prosecution did is they built their case over the last few weeks by introducing a lot of evidence, a lot of documents, and a lot of testimony that tends to corroborate Michael Cohen's direct testimony. And on the whole, it seems from, I wasn't in there, but reading the sort of the up-to-date reports from in the courtroom, seems like he was answering questions in a measured way, that he was relatively calm. I'm sure he was nervous. But really, direct examination is the easy part. Cross is where the rubber hits the road.
You mentioned all this evidence entered. Tell us about some of that sort of backs up his claims, and how effective do you think it was?
Well, there are no surprises yesterday. Michael Cohen testified about his transaction, his payment to Stormy Daniels, his discussions with Donald Trump about the Stormy Daniels issue, about the campaign, about how it affected the campaign, and presumably we're going to get more into today, even more direct orders from Donald Trump to go pay Stormy Daniels and that he would be reimbursed. That's really what Michael Cohen, the only thing arguably that he really offers that you can't get from anywhere else is conversations with Donald Trump where Donald Trump orders him to pay Stormy Daniels and lets him know that he will reimburse him with knowledge of all of the false entries in business records.
You say cross-examination is where the rubber hits the road. What do you expect the defense to focus on when they do cross-examine him?
His credibility. They're going to call him a liar. They're going to say he has a motive to lie because he wants revenge. It's literally the title of one of his books. And that revenge is against Donald Trump. And they're going to explore whether he had a motive to lie and come to court and lie about Donald Trump because he's still angry at him. And if the prosecution does its job right, that credibility issue won't be as damaging to the prosecution because of all this other evidence they've already introduced that corroborates. So they can stand up in closing and say, you may find Michael Cohen to be a generally bad person, but his testimony is consistent with the other things that are indisputable.
All right. Danny Savalos, as always, thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, the Biden administration is continuing to pressure Israel this morning, saying leaders lack an end goal in the ongoing war with Hamas. But Prime Minister Netanyahu is doubling down on his plans to invade the city of Rafah. Officials warn that decision is putting thousands of lives at risk. NBC News chief foreign correspondent Richard Engel is in Jerusalem with the details.
2 U.S. officials say that Israeli troop movements suggest that a major military operation against Rafah could be imminent, and that Israel has now amassed enough soldiers around the city to carry it out.
The exodus from Rafah is gathering steam this morning. The UN says more than 450,000 Palestinians have already left. President Biden has warned Israel not to invade because of the risk of civilian casualties.
America said that they are pressuring, but you see the pressure, nothing is happening.
Israel says Hamas has 4 battalions of fighters in Rafah and insists going into the city is the only way to clear them out. But will it work? Hamas's tactics are evolving. Its fighters have regrouped in northern Gaza, which the Israeli military claimed to have already cleared. It's a sign Hamas is becoming an insurgency, digging in for a long guerrilla war. The Biden administration says Israel needs a long-term plan for Gaza and that the goals expressed by Israeli leaders may not be realistic.
Total victory. I don't think we believe that that is likely or possible, and that this looks a lot like situations that we found ourselves in after 9/11.
Hamas used to run the services in Gaza, but now it's nowhere to be found. It started the war with Israel and then went underground to fight it. What little aid Gazans receive comes from humanitarian workers. The State Department says it's aware of reports that some American medical volunteers are now trapped after Israel seized control of Rafah's border crossing with Egypt. We spoke to Dr. Amar Ghanem from Michigan.
We have been trying to help, but the need is above what you can imagine.
Israel controls the flow of everything in and out of Gaza, and some Israelis want to stop the flow of aid completely. Extremists have begun attacking trucks, believing food and medicine should not be allowed in as long as Hamas holds hostages.
Support for destroying Hamas is nearly universal in Israel, but there are deep divisions here about Prime Minister Netanyahu's handling of the war. During a speech to mark Memorial Day, a very somber event, Prime Minister Netanyahu was heckled by Israeli citizens.
All right, Richard, thank you.
There are new developments this morning in the cleanup effort following the bridge collapse in Baltimore. An intentional massive explosion broke apart remnants of the bridge that are resting on the container ship that collided with it. NBC News correspondent Ryan Nobles is live near the scene with more on what this means for traffic into the port. Ryan, good morning.
Hey, Joe, good morning. This is a big step in getting the port back up and running. When it's open, $200 million worth of cargo comes in and out of this port every single day. And that span that they blew up yesterday was 500 feet long, and it should set the stage for moving this massive ship right away.
Signs of progress in Baltimore.
Oh, my God.
A controlled demolition of a massive span of steel, still stubbornly on top of the container ship Dolly. The operation prepped beforehand with precision cuts in the steel to allow the heavy metal to fall off the ship and be removed much easier, opening the door for the vessel to finally be removed from the middle of the Patapsco River.
This was a very big milestone for our progression forward. It was a tremendous span that was sitting on top of the vessel, pinning it in place.
The 21-member crew of the ship, still on board since the crash, were moved to a secure location below deck as the explosives went off. The ship has been in a vital shipping channel for close to 2 months after it slammed into the Francis Scott Key Bridge, toppling the almost 50-year-old structure and taking with it a major traffic artery for the metropolitan Baltimore region and shutting down one of the busiest ports in America. 6 construction workers died as a result of the accident. Last body recovered just this week.
This is bad.
The aftermath of the collapse caught on newly released body cam footage from police officers responding to the scene. Those first responders struggling to comprehend the scale of the incident.
Something's missing here in the skylight. The whole center span is gone completely. It's in the water.
The National Transportation Safety Board and the FBI are both conducting investigations into the accident. Baltimore and Maryland leaders have promised a full rebuild of the bridge, a complex and expensive project that could take up to 4 years and cost more than $1.5 billion. But while that remains the long-term goal, in the short term, the priority is to get the port reopened, a process that will get much easier once that massive ship is out of the way.
And they could start the process of moving this ship as soon as today. They're actually waiting for high tide, which is expected around 12:30 local time. They'll then use a series of tugboats to float this massive ship into a nearby terminal with the hope that the port could be back up and running by the end of the month. Joe?
All right, Ryan, thank you.
Well, meanwhile, back here in New York City, police are searching for the person who attacked well-known actor Steve Buscemi in broad daylight.
NBC News correspondent Emily Aketa has the latest on this ongoing investigation. Emily, good morning.
Hey there, guys. Good morning to you. The good news here, the beloved actor is said to be okay and was seen back in public this weekend. But the seemingly random, brazen nature of the attack on Steve Buscemi is raising concern as assaults in the city trend upward this year.
This morning, a first look at critically acclaimed actor Steve Buscemi appearing bruised and battered, just days after police say he was punched in the face in broad daylight in New York City. The NYPD releasing a photo of this individual in connection with the brazen attack that led to the 66-year-old's hospitalization with bruising, swelling, and bleeding to his left eye.
If we band together, I really believe that we could do anything.
One more, yeah.
Buscemi, a beloved New Yorker, born in Brooklyn and serving as a firefighter before winning over America on hit shows like The Sopranos
You're crowding me.
and Boardwalk Empire.
You ever wake up like you know something's wrong, but you can't put your finger on it yet?
Buscemi's publicist saying he is okay and appreciates everyone's well wishes, though incredibly sad for everyone that this has happened to while also walking the streets of New York. The attack on Buscemi comes amid a string of incidents involving residents and celebrities.
The city has changed. I think it's frightening.
In March, authorities say fellow Boardwalk Empire cast member Michael Stuhlbarg was assaulted in Central Park by a homeless man. And in recent months,
So I just got punched in the face walking home.
a stream of women in the city have taken to social media to describe being punched in the face seemingly out of nowhere.
I was literally just walking, and a man came up and punched me in the face. Oh my God, it hurts so bad.
Several people have been charged with some of those recent attacks. In New York, felony and misdemeanor assault and robbery are trending up so far this year, but overall crime is slightly down. In recent months, the NYPD adding thousands of uniformed police officers across the subway system and city streets in an effort to deal with the violence.
So police sources say Buscemi had been leaning up against the wall, texting on his phone when he was struck. This morning, police are asking any witnesses with information to come forward as the search for his attacker continues. Scary stuff.
Oh, my gosh, so scary.
Thanks, Emily. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
guys.
Severe storms are striking in the south. Let's get a closer look at what to expect with your Morning News Now forecast.
Angie Lastman's back with us. Hey, Angie, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. Spring continuing to be a pest when it comes to severe storms. We've got the tornado watch is already up this morning, and they've expanded a little farther south into parts of Florida, much of Florida included in this, and southern portions of Georgia as well. This is going to last until 1 p.m., so through your morning into your early afternoon. We've got one line of thunderstorms kind of marching through that region, Jacksonville up into Georgia. Florida, included in that with the severe thunderstorm warning in effect right now. Plenty of activity offshore, too. That's going to stay out over the Gulf of Mexico. But notice, as we get into the afternoon hours, as we get into the evening, we still have that potential to see some of these stronger storms. As far south as Tampa, Orlando, Jacksonville, Gainesville, all included in that. It mainly encompasses Florida, but we do have a little sliver of Georgia in that as well. Otherwise, where you see the green, just general kind of thunderstorms that we're going to expect. It looks like the strong winds over 60 miles per hour is the best chance for those, but we can't rule out a brief tornado or two. Big picture look for today, we've got plenty of showers around. Take your pick. Scattered showers across parts of the Northeast, the Mid-Atlantic as we get into the evening hours too. Those will stick around, and then across parts of the Ohio Valley as well. The strong storms are confined to the southeast, where I showed you today for later today. But we've also got the chance to see a couple of those here in parts of the coastal Carolinas as we get into tomorrow. But notice the rain that will stick around for the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic into your day. Plenty of flood alerts have been issued over the past 24 hours. Now we've got 2 million people with Tallahassee right in the bullseye, but we expect the flooding to be a big concern, especially as we get into later this week. We've got a round of some heavy rain that we're expecting. And we've been dealing with just repeated rounds of that heavy rain across this section of the country, the southern plains stretching into the Gulf Coast. That's where we have a moderate risk. This is for Thursday, so not today, but just a look ahead. Keep it in your back pocket because we likely will see this upgraded with heavy rain on tap. We've got Lufkin, Alexandria included in that as we gear up for anywhere from 1 inch to 3 inches of rain. This is the Thursday to Saturday time frame, so look how expansive this good soaking rain is. It goes from the Carolinas all the way into parts of Texas, and again, those highest amounts are centered across those areas that we've seen a whole lot of rain in the past couple of weeks. So super saturated soils. It's not going to be hard for us to see some flooding there. A look at your Friday showers and thunderstorms from the Great Lakes to the Gulf Coast. We've got plenty of sunshine across the plains in the west. It'll be quite warm out west as well. You see a couple of temperatures flirting with the triple digits across the desert southwest. And then, yep, it's the weekend. So, of course, it's soggy across the east, right? That's the running joke at this point. But the middle of the country looks great. You'll get a little bit of a break from the rain in the southern plains. It'll feel like summer with temperatures inching to the upper 80s across places in the Midwest. We've got 80s on tap across the Great Lakes as well, and lots of sunshine for folks out west. By Sunday, mild conditions, but for the west, but quite hot for the middle of the country. And you guessed it, still rain around across the east, guys.
Oh, lovely.
All right.
Thanks, Angie.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.